How long does your studio
so it
exist?
existed for about 5 years, but in those 5 years the company changed quite a lot. We started out doing another game called Cloud Chamber, which was more sort of a transmedia project than an actual game. And back then, most of the studio was, we outsourced all the development for the game, and it's very much different now. Now we have all the development in-house. So over the last 2 years, the company changed quite significantly.
Okay, so it grew bigger and more
exactly.
independent.
For 5 years in total. And we also used to do more work for hire, which we don't do at all now. We only do our own games.
Well, that's better,
it's more
I think,
at least.
to just work on your own projects all
Very
the
much.
time. Yeah. Where did your circus, I don't know how to pronounce that as well, an inspiration for making Aporia came from?
Yes, so, I mean, it started out by us playing titles like Dear Esther, if you know that one, and Journey.
I know Journey. I have had a PlayStation for years.
So we thought those games had an interesting approach to storytelling and just kind of having the storytelling embedded in the environment, and so we decided to not use text or dialogue, and then just try to see if we were able to tell a story by through drawings and objects and symbols and such. So we felt there was a lack of storytelling puzzle in these kind of environmental storytelling games. So
okay.
I don't know if you played Journey.
I have played Journey, yes, and also Flower from the same developer. I liked Flower more, by the way.
So I mean, Journey, for instance, they had a lot of discrete storytelling, if you could say that, and we sort of wanted to make that type of game, but a lot more interactive and a lot more in the feel of the old adventure games like Myst and Riven.
I haven't played both, so I don't know them. I think I started gaming too late for those two games. I've heard of the names, but I've never really touched them.
Those are kind of our inspirational sources, those games. And we really enjoy those type of games, but as I mentioned, we really felt there was we wanted a better combination between storytelling games and puzzle games.
Yeah, that's things more games need. It's more fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Aporia your first game as an independent studio?
We actually previously made one game before this, which was called Cloud Chamber, which was highly critically acclaimed. It won a prize called the TIGA, which is sort of the gaming industry's own prize for their games. We won that in 2014 for the best social game. But commercially, the game wasn't a big success, and it very much differs from the kind of game that we want to make now. Back then, we were very focused on sort of merging film and games. Now we are more focused on making games that are exclusively games, I would call them, with a high level of interaction and less focus on satisfying a film audience, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, the other one is like some kind of journey or something. It's more
like it was even more, I would say, connected to the film. There was lots of filmed material in the game. I think there was about 4 hours of filmed material, which was originally film content. Then we had a collaboration with the European Space Agency with lots of footage, stock footage and stock stuff from the space missions, and lots of educational videos. It was a game about exploring or getting an emotional connection to the universe and exploring sort of an unknown signal and following 3 young people that were trying to discover where that signal was coming from.
Okay, that sounds totally different than your
very
current
much different.
game.
So it was very nice to make, and we learned a lot from it, and we also won some really nice prizes, but it's very different from what we're doing now.
Okay. For what platforms do you develop?
Yeah, so right now we're focusing on PC, especially because we make games in CryEngine, and it's really requiring graphically. But of course, it's we have in the future we'll definitely look for other platforms such as Xbox and PlayStation, depending on how successful Aporia will be on PC. Because it takes some extra work to just distribute for another platform. And with CryEngine, we need to optimize to make it able to be running smoothly on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, that seems
exactly.
hard. What type of education have you done?
So most of us in this particular studio has been studying mediology, which is a creative approach to different types of media, such as 3D graphics, sound, film, lighting, and so on. So it's a very technical education, but also very creative. And some of us has a master in games, and some of us has been studying on TrueMax, which is a 3D academy.
Okay.
We also have one from Copenhagen Business School,
which is me.
Okay, well, I don't know what Copenhagen Business School is. I can only imagine where it is, since I have never been in Denmark.
So we're sort of a diverse lot. By the way, you're talking today with Sebastian, who's the game director, and me, who is the producer of the gaming company. We're the ones who met on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're sort of a very diverse lot of people, I think, which is nice when you're developing a game. We have a very flat structure in our company, so everyone sort of gets to say and be part of the development, which I think is really, really important, because we want to build really high quality games, and for that to happen, you need to sort of challenge every assumption you're making. And I think it's nice that you have really clever and a great team where everyone can get involved and have a good opinion about what it is we're doing.
Yeah, I also think that it's better if one person decides about everything. I think that will cost quality.
Very much. We're very focused on making the best quality games we possibly can.
That's visible on screenshots. No problem. What is the biggest challenge in producing?
The biggest challenge in making games?
In making Aporia, what's the biggest challenge?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest challenges is probably that we are making a game which is not in the real world, which is hard, because then you have to think about how to design each and everything in the game, and how you cannot just take existing like a coffee cup from the real world and just put it in the game. You constantly need to be creative and come up with something new for the game. But that's also one of the fun thing about it, I think. And of course, one of the greatest challenges is to be able to reach a point where everyone agrees that it's nice. I mean, you spend a lot of time on changing things in the game. So you make something and you test it out, and then you decide, okay, this is not what we intended, or maybe you test it on other people and they didn't react as you would think they do, and then you have to change it all. So you constantly change, and at one point you have to stop because you cannot keep changing.
Yeah, if you keep changing, the development will take ages.
And another really big challenge is sort of the financing of your development. We're doing a game which is challenging both ourselves, but also very much sort of the genre, because when you're using no text and dialogue, and we're trying to make a really, really high-end game with a very small studio. So in that sense, we get a lot of questions about what kind of game is we're making, and trying to explain to, to sort of everyone, both the audience, but maybe more in particular the people who sort of finance our studio, what kind of game are we making, and it's going to be commercially successful and stuff like that, which we try not to worry about, but of course it's something that you sort of have to constantly think about. How will you finance it and satisfy the people who are sort of pouring money into your game?
Yeah, that's really important. I agree with that. Do you get any help from the industry developing and promoting
I think that
Aporia?
actually Crying has been a huge help. There's a indie development fund right now where you can apply for money in the fund, sort of like a competition. But I think they've been really nice in sort of promoting us, and also of course other games. But I think all promotion helps, not only internally but also to all kinds of people. So they've been really nice, and we're also getting a lot of help from the guys that we're using for the sound plugin that we're using, and just in general, I think people are really, really nice when you ask them for help. They sort of want to help. And for me personally, that's been sort of interesting, because I came doing a lot of film where people are of course also very helpful, but in a very different way. It seems like in the gaming business, everyone wants everyone to succeed, which is really uplifting in many ways. It's a very, very positive way to be part of.
Okay, I didn't know that, so that's really cool. How do you like each platform? So like Steam, console, everything?
So are you thinking about developing for the platforms, or just the
No, by using them. From a gamer opinion.
Well, personally I really like console, because I think it's, I know there's like a huge battle between the master race and the console race. I think the console is nice because it's very convenient. You can sort of sit down in your couch and you can play a game without having to think too much about it, especially from a perspective of I'm a dad, so I don't have a lot of time to sort of play, and I can just throw myself on the couch and play a little bit and then stop in the middle of everything. But I think you can argue that you can do exactly the same with a PC, so it's not a very strong argument, but it seems more convenient on the console.
Well, a console you buy for 400 euros, and a PC, if you want it for that price, you have to build it yourself, so you have to put more effort in it.
Yeah, but I think it also depends on what type of... I mean, also, actually, for me, it depends on my energy level. If I'm really tired, I'm on the couch playing console. And if I'm a bit more energetic, then I'll probably play a first-person thing on the PC, because first-person games for me is horrible on console.
Yeah, that's true.
But because we've been growing up in an age where you're not used to controlling first-person on a controller, but on the mouse and key.
Yeah, I prefer to play with controllers though. With a mouse, I look like I had a lot of speed. What type of games do you play in your free time?
I really like playing first-person games, but I kind of like all kinds of games as long as they're good. But I think first-person games are nice because you get very involved in them in many ways, or third-person games even. I think they also often have a tendency to tell a good story, which is sort of central for me in playing games, is to get some kind of satisfaction in the storytelling.
Yeah, I get that. When did you decide to become a developer?
Yeah, so that's of course a really personal question, also depending on who you ask on the team. But if you ask me, back when we started the different university projects in CryEngine, that's where I actually started to think, okay, this is really interesting. It's interesting to make an experience that others can get a unique experience from. And in the beginning, I actually thought that making games were not something for me, especially because I thought about it as making, the classical games, shooter games and 2D games, I didn't actually think that there would be that you could create a really strong experience. But with high-level graphics, you're able to make a more artistic and strong immersive experience, and that's what I like to do. I mean, personally, I don't like to just make another Super Mario game or Tetris or whatever. It's more the immersive experience that I really like to do.
I can understand that. The next Mario, yeah, there are like 20,000 of games that are like that, so yeah, it's not really interesting anymore to
exactly.
play.
Not that Mario is not good, but I mean, it's just about it's more about moving into the art perspective of games rather than just using the classical things, because you can do so many things with games, so why not just try to do it?
I think it's so interesting with games because it's sort of the new storytelling genre. When we've only been doing games, I guess, professionally for 30, 40 years, which sort of, if you're going to compare it to anything, it's like the film business in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of things weren't invented in films in the 30s and 40s. So there's sort of a good 60 years ahead of us to do, artistically do almost anything that's possible. I think that's what's so appealing about doing game and game design, is that there's sort of this open blue ocean of innovation just lying ahead of you, and you want to take a sort of artistic approach to that rather than just do the same old.
Yeah, I get that. How did you learn to code or design? You're a designer, so I think
yeah. So mainly, since most of us are from a game-based education, we of course learned it on the university and the academy. But I mean, we also, of course, you cannot avoid using a lot of, which is good, a lot of YouTube tutorials and documentations for the engine you're working in, books. Those type of things. So it's about just gathering as much information as you can, and then of course hope that we have some nice people who want to keep making tutorials on YouTube for different things, different aspects. So yeah, that's basically it. But are you thinking about what I would recommend if you wanted to learn to make games, or just how we learned it?
How you guys
so we did
it.
To begin with, we had all the basic knowledge from university, and then we started to experimenting. I mean, the best way you can learn is by doing or teaching others, right? So it's just about getting your hands dirty, and so we used a lot of time in CryEngine trying to figure out how it worked, and then when we needed help, we looked at the documentation or YouTube videos.
And we're still sort of learning a lot. We haven't really hit rock bottom yet in terms of learning everything that is to be known.
No.
Which is also what makes it really fun to make games, that you can always sort of make a new challenge where you'll have to come up and figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And you're sort of learning all the time, which is great.
Yeah, that is. Well, then we have the last question. That's, when will Aporia be released?
Actually, right now, I think it's going to be early 2017 or maybe March 2017. It sort of depends a little bit on whether we get the financing that we're looking for. And I think we're also, if we get the financing now, we're gonna do a little crowdfunding when we get very close to being able to release, and hopefully that will bring us home, so to speak. But I think we're aiming very certainly aiming at March 2017.
Oh, that's
we've been working
fast
on the game for 1.5 years now, so it's almost a 2-year journey to get to March 2017. So it's not that fast.
Well, it seems fast to me. Normally, if you see a game, it takes like 8 years before it comes out.
But they've also been working a lot of time before that to, it takes a long time to make games.
Yeah, but I think if you make a game in 3 months, it won't be good.
I mean, you should also think about that this this will not be like a very, very big game. It will be a smaller experience. So
We need smaller games. You can do that.
I think we'll have a gameplay of like 5 to 6 hours, right? Something like that.
yeah.
Well, that's not really short. I have seen AAA games that
It
has
depends
less
on how much
time.
you want to explore. I mean, if you, I mean, what can we compare it to? I don't know. Maybe the average playtime will be 3 to 4 hours, but you could probably spend more time because it's an exploration game, so you can walk around and probably spend 8 or 9 hours if you want to. But you could also just run through it and make it in 2 or 3 hours. Yeah.
That's fast. Well, that was the last question. So
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And
No problem.
you'll download the game and just let us know if you sort of if you have any problems playing it, and if you need any sort of additional footage, we can try to help you out and see if we can do some here or whatever.